You've been saving money for a while, you've been investing for a long time, but are you still making rookie investment mistakes that could impact your retirement? In today's show, I'm going to discuss the 5 rookie mistakes even experienced investors make. I'll talk about how to potentially avoid them and how to help fix them as well.
Welcome to the Your Life, Your Money podcast with Scott Searins, teaching you how to thrive in life, wealth, and retirement.
Welcome to another episode of The Retirement Show, all about your life, your money, and your taxes. I'm your host, Scott Searins, and my goal is to help you thrive in life, wealth, and retirement. If today's your first time joining the show, I recommend signing up for our insiders list. You can sign up at lifemoneyshow.com. Again, that's lifemoneyshow.com. What it is it's our weekly email providing retirement tips and tax reduction strategies, plus many more other things. And more importantly, what it means to you is helping you to understand if you're on that right path to retirement, helping you retire with confidence. For instance, our latest wealth report was 3 tax planning strategies to deploy year-round. So sign up, again, lifemoneyshow.com. You're going to scroll down a little bit there on the screen, and you can sign up to be part of our insiders list where you're getting our weekly emails. Now, I've had my driver's license for 24 years. I would consider myself an experienced driver. However, a couple months ago, as I was driving down the interstate, I was on cruise control. I would say kind of got into one of those focused dazes. Maybe I was listening to the music and I forgot my exit. I missed my exit. I had to get off at the next exit on the interstate. And maybe you found yourself doing something similar, right? You're driving. You're an experienced driver, right? This isn't your first year. You're not a rookie. And you got on cruise control and maybe you missed your exit. Maybe you stayed in the left lane too long after passing a car. Or maybe, for instance, even as an experienced driver, right? You left the house a little bit late. Emotions get high because maybe you're running late for work, you're running late for an event, and you decide instead to speed, and speeding leads to getting a speeding ticket. All these mistakes from us experienced drivers. So what's my point here? Even though you've been saving your money and investing your money for a long time, it's still easy to make rookie mistakes. And in today's episode, that's what we're going to talk about, the 5 rookie mistakes that we see people make, just like when driving, right? We can be experienced drivers and we can still make those rookie mistakes. Well, what are those rookie mistakes that we're still seeing people make even as they've been investing and saving money for a long time? We're going to talk about them. Then we're also going to illustrate how to avoid them, how to fix them if you've already made some of these mistakes in your financial life. So starting off with number 1 is investments with no purpose. Investments with no purpose. Now, here's how I want you to think about this one. We don't typically just buy random stuff to sit around our house or yard or in our garage. Let's just say, would you go out and buy a boat if you lived 10 hours from the water or had no access to the water or had no even interest in using the boat? Well, of course not, right? Because that boat would have no purpose to you. You're going to buy a boat because the purpose is to take it out on the water. So you wouldn't buy it if it didn't have a purpose. And that's just a very simple relation to your investments. You should be sure that your investments make some kind of purpose as it relates to your overall strategy. Just like you want to buy something that has purpose, that's why you have it around. You want your investments to have purpose to your overall strategy. One thing that I like to say in a lot of workshops that we do is put a purpose and a plan to your money and to your retirement. Say that one more time for you. Put a purpose and a plan to your money and your retirement. So let me just give you examples of what I mean by purpose. Maybe the purpose of your money is your retirement lifestyle. Now we can even break that down even further. Maybe within your retirement lifestyle, the purpose could be income. Maybe it's keeping up with inflation. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, so for income, what kind of return do you need on average to produce the income that you need and to make your money last? What kind of return do you need to help you keep up with inflation? And let's just keep, taking this a little bit further. So maybe retirement lifestyle is your purpose. Maybe the purpose is an upcoming purchase, maybe a house, maybe a car, maybe you do need a boat, right? And so if the purpose of the money is that, then how should that money be invested? Should it be safe? Should it be at risk? Maybe the purpose is a reserve fund or an emergency fund. Some people call it a rainy day fund. Maybe the purpose is for vacations. Maybe the purpose is a legacy to give, to pass that on to a charity or to your beneficiaries. When you look at all of your money, what is the purpose of it? And when you start breaking down what the purpose is of your money, then it can really help you understand how you need to invest it. What kind of return do you need to get to achieve the purpose that you want to utilize that money for? You'll be able to start to mentally break it down into different buckets. Maybe the purpose is short term. Well, if it's short term, would you want to go and put that money at risk where it could drop 5% or 10% or 20% or more? Well, probably not. So then you're going to think of more short-term investments, more safer investments, maybe like an online savings account or a checking account or just a regular savings account or a CD or treasury notes. So, that short-term purpose, short-term type of investments, safer investments. Maybe it's a longer-term purpose. Maybe the purpose of your money is to keep up with, a portion of your money, not all of it, maybe a portion of your money is to keep up with inflation, at which point then you want it at growth. You might have it in equities to get a higher return over a longer period of time to outpace inflation. So what I find is that, again, sometimes people are going into retirement or just living life in general, but not putting a purpose to their money. And therefore, they might just be chasing random returns. They might have random investments. They might not know exactly what they're trying to achieve, and so they have miscellaneous investments that don't even make a whole lot of sense for their specific situation. So I find when you have that purpose for your money, when you start mentally bucketing it out for different things, then you can also invest with a purpose as well. Some might be short term, some might be safer, some might be long term, more at risk for growth, but it really helps to do that. And then you'll see that you're less worried about what's happening in the news, what's happening in the markets, what kind of returns you're getting, as long as they align or the averages align with the purpose that you're looking for in your overall funds and your life for that money. Okay, let's move on. Sorry, I got on kind of a roll there about purpose, but to me that one is so important. Just like you wouldn't go out and buy a boat if you're not going to use it, why would you invest in investments that have no purpose or do not match the purpose of what you want to use your money for? And I think it's really, really important to understand that. Hopefully I drove it home, but that is one of the top mistakes that we see people make, is that there's no purpose to their plan. There's no purpose to their investments. And once you start to really put that together, you become less worried about what's happening in the economic situations, because you know of your money, you'll know what's bucketed off for short-term purposes, you'll know what's bucketed off for income, you're going to know what's bucketed off to help you keep up with inflation and anything else that you want to mentally bucket off money for. All right, going on. Number 2 of rookie mistakes we even experienced investors make, and number 2 is just not understanding risk. Investing involves risk, and each investment can carry a different amount of risk. First off, let's just talk about single stocks versus funds. Sometimes people will carry individual stocks in their investments. I'm not here to say that's right or wrong. What I am going to just kind of walk you through is a bit of an analogy to help you understand that if you're just carrying one individual stock, how that could be way more risky than if you were to utilize a fund. So an analogy that I've given you here before, but I like to go over it again just to help reiterate the point. Let's just say you go into an office building and you need to get up to the 10th floor. You walk in, there's 2 elevators there, and today you're actually able to see through the wall. You can see through the wall. You can see what's holding those elevators up. Now, you look at the elevator on the left, and there's one string holding the elevator on the left up. You look on the elevator on the right, and there's hundreds of strings holding the elevator on the right up. Which elevator would you get in? Now, most people would answer the question. They say, I'm going to get in the elevator on the right. There's hundreds of strings holding it up. So if one string were to break, there's lots and lots of other strings holding it up. Well, that's the difference, too, between having an individual stock and having a mutual fund or an exchange-traded fund in your portfolio. That individual stock is that elevator on the left. And yes, an individual stock, you may have had one in your portfolio, and it could do really, really well. It can get you to exactly where you need to go. But also you're taking on a larger risk because you have all of your money in that individual stock. Whereas if you're using a mutual fund or an exchange-traded fund or a fund, right? A fund, the elevator on the right, holds hundreds and hundreds of stocks. So if that one company that you have on the left does bad, well, you might own it on the right side elevator. However, if that string breaks, you have hundreds of other strings holding your elevator up, hundreds of other investments carrying you to where you need to go and carrying you to your goals. So understanding how much risk that you're taking in your portfolios is important. If you're in individual stocks, do you have multiple individual stocks, right? Are you diversified? And the reason I bring this up to the individual stocks is because I know sometimes people are given stock options or restricted stock units, and so they might have or have purchased stock in their company. They become very emotionally attached to it, and you have to understand the risk that you're taking when you become emotionally attached to that individual stock. Okay, so that's understanding the risk of individual stocks versus funds. Now, just because you're in funds or just because you have your money in multiple locations doesn't mean that you're actually diversified. I've met with folks before in which they come in and they say, well, I've got my money, with this institution, and then they start naming off and they've got their money with 5 different institutions. And I want to share with you a recent story of a person who has become a client. And as we were going through the review, when we did the review on their portfolio, they thought because they were in 5 different locations not meaning 5 different funds, 5 different institutions, that they were diversified. But when we looked at the funds that those different institutions owned, they actually owned the same stock over and over and over again. And so while this person thought that they were diversified, truth is that they just owned the same thing over and over and over again. So if that same thing performed really poorly, they were going to perform really poorly. So diversification is key. It's not being in multiple institutions. It's being in large cap and mid cap and small cap and international large cap and international small cap and international mid cap. It's being diversified in growth and income. So there's so many different ways to diversify, but it's being diversified across all of those different types of investments. So one thing I'm going to end with here is I want to just give you this thought here. Emotion versus logic. Emotion versus logic. I find that sometimes people can become so emotionally tied to their investment, so emotionally tied to their company's stock, so emotionally tied to thinking that having their money in 5 different institutions is a good thing, but they're not actually doing what's logically right for them. So please always think about that. Try to take the emotions out of investing and do what's logically right for you and for your future. So just bring this up, this number 2 point, right? Not understanding risk, because plenty of people consider themselves to have a very low risk tolerance, but then they have a lot more risk in their portfolio than they actually think. And so It's always good to do an update on your portfolio. Make sure that you are diversified in your retirement investments. And speaking of emotions, that's actually our third rookie mistake even experienced investors make, is emotional decision making. And, back to the car analogy that I started off with, right? Even an experienced driver can leave late from their house, be late to that meeting, be late to that event that they're going through. So they get emotional about that. What do? They start speeding. They might get caught. Speeding leads to that speeding ticket. And it's just like this. It's just the same in investing, how emotions can impact and hurt your investments. Just like speeding can hurt you because you might get a ticket. It can hurt your driving record. Making emotional decisions in your investments can hurt your long-term returns. And I understand, right? Because how do you feel when your investments are down? You don't feel good, maybe bad, maybe you're really just itching to make that change. And if you've been investing for a long time, it's really easy to think that you're immune to acting emotionally. But when you're going through those feelings, when you're not feeling good about your investments, when you're feeling bad because your investments are down, you've seen the account values drop below what they previously were. A lot of times, even seasoned investors, right, are guilty of acting emotionally, just scratching that itch to make a change because they feel like if they make that change, it'll make all the change for their investments. It's going to make everything better. And reality is a lot of times that can sometimes actually hurt your investments more. I was just kind of doing a little bit of research here. I'm going to attach an article in the show notes. So you can go to lifemoneyshow.com. Again, that's lifemoneyshow.com. There's an article here from Hartford Funds that said if you missed the 10 best days over the last 30 years, your returns would be cut in half. And it said if you missed the 30 best days over those same 30 years, your returns would have been reduced by 83%. And the reason I bring this up is because sometimes the best days, the best investment days, sometimes some of the best days of returns come within some of the worst days of investing. Sometimes it comes within those days where you feel so emotionally drained by the market, emotionally drained by seeing your account values down, and you decide, oh, well, now's the time. I'm going to move to cash. I can't take the pain anymore. I'm going to move to cash. Or maybe I should go more conservative. But as you can see here, and I'm going to link to that article, missing some of those best days can really also have a huge impact on the returns that you would get, right? Just like speeding can go to that speeding ticket, making that emotional decision to change your investments can also impact you where it's going to impact your returns. Now, the way to address this is to have a strategy. So not just crossing your fingers, not just hoping that things are going to work, having a strategy, right? So going back to number one, putting a purpose to your investments, then having a strategy within your investments, knowing when you're going to make adjustments, meaning not adjustments to your investments, but adjustments to your income if your investments are down. Knowing how your money is bucketed off, what money is bucketed for growth, where you know that you're going to see that volatility in the markets. Knowing how much you've got bucketed for income. And if you're somebody who's approaching retirement, ahead of time, starting to carve off money into that bucket for income or in keeping money on that right-hand side, that strategy for growth, where you know it's going to be more volatile. So having a strategy in place can help you take the emotion out of investing and instead putting the logic to it. Okay, number four. Number four is hot tips. You might wonder, well, what does he mean by this? Well, if you have ever started a sentence with, I saw on Fox News, I saw on CNBC, I saw on TikTok, I saw on in a commercial. Or maybe you've started a sentence with, I heard from my friend, I heard from an in-law, I heard from my cousin, I heard from this celebrity in a commercial. Well, stop right there. Those are hot tips. And is it a good idea to be following those hot tips? Let's just break this down. First off, when it comes to I saw on TV, I saw on social media, I saw in a commercial. These are news, these are articles, these commercials. They are all companies trying to get your attention so they can advertise it to you. They're not concerned about your investments. They're not concerned about your return. They're concerned about their profits. And the way that they make profit is by advertising to you. So I really want you to think about that when you're getting your hot tips off of a commercial or off of a news channel or off of a social media channel. Now, maybe it's I heard from my friend, or I heard from my cousin, I heard from a local celebrity. Just remember this. All of your, and I'm going to put in quotes here, expert friends or cousins or people that you know, while they might have a good idea, and they'll always be telling you about their good ideas, just remember they probably also typically, conveniently forget to tell you about their bad ideas and their bad investments as well. And over time, they're just only going to tell you about what they think their good ones are, but they're also not going to tell you 5 years later if that good idea was still a good idea or if it was a bad idea, if they even stayed with it or anything like that. So as we're going on here, you can probably get the theme. Invest with a purpose, have a strategy, understand your risk. Let's not chase around, good ideas and bad ideas. Let's not chase around emotions because our buddy's saying that this is the new hot stock. Have a long-term strategy. And I'm going to give you a few examples here. One example is the dot-com bubble. In the dot-com bubble, basically people were flooding money into investments of internet-related companies, technology companies, dot-com companies. There were companies that really didn't even exist that people were flooding money into. And then what happened? The bubble burst and investments dropped way down. Some went to zero. And so see what happens when you follow these emotional things. Bubbles come up and bubbles pop. Another one that's kind of more recent was the GameStop. Maybe you heard about people and the price of GameStop driving way up. Everybody's like, oh, got to do this. It was something that was kind of created online, and then people saw it flooding up, so other people are telling more people, oh my gosh, have you seen GameStop? You got to invest in that. And what happened? Well, the price flooded up until what? It got really high and created its own bubble. And just remember, if you're getting into something like that, what you're buying, if you want to make a profit on it, you have to find somebody to sell it to someday. So you're buying a stock at a price because you're saying, well, I think the value of this stock is, $200 a share or whatever it might be. Then if you want to make money on that stock, you also have to find somebody to sell it to. And if you want to make money, sell it to at higher than $200 a share. And if there's not that person out there, well, then you're going to lose money in that investment. So following these hot tips, following these crazily driven up stock prices on some individual stocks, just remember, to make a profit, you also have to sell it at a higher value than what you bought it at. And if all of the emotions around that stock goes away, then it's going to be pretty hard to find somebody to sell it to. So number 4 was hot tips. Be really careful in getting involved with, getting caught up in hot tips. And if you find your sentence starting with, I saw on, talking anything about TV or social media or a commercial, or I heard from, and it's not a truly researched strategy and solution, then you might just want to kind of table it, put it aside for, a few weeks, few months. If you're really, really adamant about it, then maybe do something about it. But otherwise, it might just kind of disappear as well. Okay. Our final rookie mistake even experienced investors make is forgetting about the investment fund fees. A lot of people really underestimate how much they pay in fees within the funds that they hold, or think that the fund doesn't carry a cost or anything like that. Or they think that they're in a 401k and there's no charges in their 401k. So let me just first off break off what I'm talking about here when I say investment fund fees. All mutual funds and exchange-traded funds have what they call as an underlying expense ratio. Basically, it's the cost of the company to manage and run that fund. They've got people, they've got overhead, they've got buildings, they've got their research analysts, they've got all of those people that are helping put together that mutual fund or that exchange-traded fund, and there's a cost to doing business. So that's okay. But you need to understand what is that cost that they're charging you to do business. And so I've seen some funds that have an underlying expense ratio as low as 0.01%, but I've seen some funds that have also had an underlying expense ratio higher than 2%. And it's important to understand what those underlying expense ratios are. Your financial advisor should be able to easily share that with you of what the underlying expense ratios are. Your 401k company should be able to easily share that with you when you're looking at the different options that you have in your 401k of what those underlying expense ratios are. It's important to know those because those are cutting from the final return that you're getting in that fund. So, important to know those. There we go. So it's important to know those and keep those as low as possible, but also making sure that the investments line up with your strategy and what you're trying to achieve. So there we go. Just like we can be an experienced driver and still make mistakes on the road, you could be an experienced person at saving money. You can be investing for a long time, but there's still potential investment mistakes that you could be making. Hopefully today helped you understand some of the mistakes that are out there. You can look at your portfolio and correct those mistakes as well. I hope that you found today to be of value and benefit. If so, like I had mentioned earlier, go to lifemoneyshow.com, scroll down, sign up for our insiders list. That's our weekly email where we're providing retirement tips, tax reduction strategies, plus much more to help you understand if you're on that right path towards retirement, to help you understand how to retire with confidence. Our latest one was the wealth report where we talked about the 3 tax planning strategies that you can deploy year-round. If you found this to be of value and benefit, you want to listen to additional episodes, subscribe on your favorite podcast player, and I look forward to our next conversation together to helping you enjoy life today and being financially confident about your tomorrow.
Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, AEWM, a registered investment advisor. AEWM and Sierens Financial Group, Inc. are not affiliated companies. Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Sierens Financial Management, Inc. Sierens Financial Group, Inc. is an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through AE Wealth Management, LLC, AEWM, a registered investment advisor. AEWM does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Sierens Financial Management, Inc. are not subject to investment advisor requirements. AEWM and Sierens Financial Group, Inc. are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as a sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Sierens Financial Group, Inc. is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Sierens Financial Group, Inc. Bond obligations are subject to the financial strength of the bond issuer and its ability to pay. Before investing, consult your financial advisor to understand the risk involved with purchasing bonds.